Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube series on how to make the world's best fresh salsa. Making that salsa starts long before you go to the cupboard to get the tortilla chips out. It starts in the spring when you plant your vegetables and get ready for that harvest in the fall. Now this year we have decided to put in kind of a fun new thing, which is a bunch of garden boxes. We have a lot of regular garden space as well, but we thought it would be fun to kind of switch things up, and I'm looking forward to the results. I have 44 tomato plants and about 90 pepper plants. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be a master gardener and tell you all the do's and don'ts of planting and taking care of your vegetable plants. There are a lot of people on the internet that do that, but I just wanted to capture some video here early in the spring. It is May 3rd today, and so we're planting pretty close to Mother's Day, which here in Utah, of course, is kind of the golden time to plant when the danger of frost has passed. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Frost might sweep in and at least with the garden beds now, I have the opportunity to more easily cover them up with blankets and hopefully save everything. But we'll be taking care of these throughout the summer, and we'll shoot a few videos along the way, and then we'll get to how to make that salsa. My mouth is already watering. I cannot wait. I wanted to spend a few moments talking about the pepper choices that I make. These aren't going to be necessarily be the same ones that you make, but maybe I can give you some ideas. But again, as I mentioned before, to me what makes the salsa fantastic is the variety of peppers. I just went through my garden and counted the numbers of different types of peppers that I have this year. I think I have a new record. I have 20 different types of peppers. So let me just go through and mention each of them by category and just give you a little bit of sense, a little bit of flavor on why I like them. So let's start out with the sweet peppers. And just to back up first, I like to create a mixture of sweet, medium, and hot peppers. And you combine all those flavors together, and it's just like unlike anything you'll ever buy in the store, because the flavor combination is what makes it so fantastic. So the sweet peppers that I have in my garden this year are your typical bell peppers. So you've got Better Bell, Big Bertha, and then one that I've really come to love is called the Giant Marconi. And it's instead of a traditional bell shape, it's kind of a longer pepper, but it's just really big, and it gives you a lot of bulk. And so when you just need a good amount of sweet pepper in your mix, then that's a great way to go. So I grow a lot of Giant Marconis, and they work really well for me. Another variety that is really kind of fun that my wife really loves a lot is called Gypsy, and it's just kind of a light green skinned pepper, and it tapers down towards the bottom, and it's very sweet and just has a little different flavor from your typical bell peppers. Another one kind of in that category but strained towards medium hot is called Big Jim. Again, this is one that gives you, as the name implies, the bulk, and gives you a lot of pepper mass, and is very tasty. All right, so now let's move on to the medium peppers. Anaheim chili, classic, right? Everybody knows what those are. It just gives you a nice medium heat, very delicious. Jalapeno, now you might classify that as hot, but you'll see why in a moment. I don't. I put it in the medium category. Just a classic, excellent flavor. Hungarian wax is not a terribly hot pepper, but it can add some heat, and so I like to have that for color variety too, because it's a yellow pepper. Then we have garden salsa, and maybe not everybody knows what garden salsa is, but it's a round, kind of tube-shaped pepper, and it gets to be pretty long, and it's one of my favorite peppers. It just has this wonderful taste and can pack some pretty good heat, surprising amount of heat, and I love that. That gives me a lot of, again, kind of a lot of bulk in the medium hotness category. And then I was able to find this year Tabasco, which of course comes from its namesake pepper sauce, and Sriracha, the same thing. And it's kind of fun to have those peppers as part of the mix as well. Now let's move on to the super hots, and that's where we get into the Thae Hot. Now I've seen these a couple different ways. Even though they're often labeled the same way, I've seen them where they grow up and some where they grow down. And I don't know, there seem to be a few different varieties of Thae Hot chilies, but they end up being, some of them a little bit longer, some of them are quite short, but they definitely pack a real punch and are excellent when dried. And I'll talk about that later on too. Next we have the cayenne pepper, which is, it kind of has that wrinkled skin, and it's kind of a very classic pepper. Again, a very nice pepper when dried as well. We have the habanero, which has kind of a fruity flavor and can come in a variety of different colors. And then we get into the three really hot peppers. The ghost pepper, otherwise known as the Bhut Jolokia, which comes from India. I have to say, of all the hot peppers, the flavor of the ghost is my very favorite. It just, I don't know what it is about it, but it's just got this wonderful flavor. I like habanero, but I like ghost far better, just in terms of the flavor. It packs a lot of heat. Years ago, it was the hottest pepper in the world, and that it's been dethroned a few times since then, but still remains really probably one of my very favorites. And then we have the scorpion pepper. There are a couple of varieties. You've got the Butch tea and the Trinidad. The Trinidad, I think, is the hotter of the two. But anyway, I've got the Trinidad in my garden this year, and that plant, it's done really well for me in the past. It can get very big and put out dozens and dozens of peppers, and so it's nice to have a whole bunch of those at the end of the season. And then, as you saw in the previous segment, the Carolina Reaper, which is currently essentially the reigning champion of the world in terms of hotness. It's up in the 1.9 million Scoville units, and so it just packs a tremendous amount of heat. And so when using a Carolina Reaper, it really doesn't take much to really change the overall flavor of the hot salsa. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, there is a new contender for hottest pepper in the world that has simply been called X. Now, you can't buy them necessarily. However, the nursery that I went to today, locally, said they thought they might be getting some in. So we'll be checking back with them to see if they have them, and it'd be sure fun to try one of those out as well. Ridiculous amounts of heat. Now, some people will say, look, Kurt, there's so much heat you can't taste anything, and it just burns my tongue, and it's not a good experience. And I understand that. Hot salsa is not for everybody. But here's the beauty of my approach. I just listed 18 peppers, and there are two more that are just kind of new ones that I tried this year. But what I do is I vary the mixture depending on who I'm serving the salsa to. So my wife actually really doesn't like that hot at all, and many members of my family don't. So I'll use my sweets, I'll put in maybe a couple of mediums, and I won't put any of the super hots in at all into one particular batch. Then I'll make another batch, and I'll throw in, half of a ghost pepper and half of a habanero, and certainly the cayenne and the Thai and the other hot peppers, and really, pack in the spice so that those who like the spice can enjoy it. And so I make lots of varieties of levels of hotness with my fresh salsas. So planting your garden with a wide variety of peppers is the foundation to having a lot of flexibility and a lot of fun flavor later in the summer. Just finish off talking about tomatoes. I kind of alluded to it before, but the Roma tomato is the best for fresh salsa in my mind because it is not a juicy tomato. Most of your heirloom tomatoes, which are the round tomatoes, like Early Girl, and many of the meaty tomatoes. There's 100 different varieties of those, and many of them are very delicious. But I prefer not to have them in the salsa because they're too watery and they make it more soupy. To me, the texture of the salsa is a very important aspect, and so I prefer to have it kind of more chunky and not so soupy. So the Roma is the baseline for me. There's another similar tomato called the San Marzano, and it has a very nice flavor. It's just a little bit softer than the Romas. The Romas are quite firm, but the plant grows well and produces a lot of fruit, so that's another favorite tomato of mine as well. So that's it for this segment. Just wanted to cover the varieties of peppers that I like. You're going to like others and have your own favorites, but maybe I've given you some ideas on peppers that you can choose and plant in your garden.